So we're back. It's been a while. Due to Brittany and the kids kind of being in Oregon and then work schedule, this is kind of the first chance we've had to really sit down and do a video. So we're gonna go through and kind of give you a brief rundown. It might not be brief, I don't know. From when we first met to kind of now, and I'll give you all the in-betweens that we could remember and do it that way. You know, a little cheat sheet just in case. So we'll just start off on how we met. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Not a lot of people know how we met, so this is kind of a, I guess, a way to tell everyone.
Surprise!
Almost 8 years later. So I was actually married before Carl, and not the best marriage. And that whole year after I separated from him, I didn't really date a whole lot. I kind of just took almost a year off. In that time, I started writing school at Wing Hill Writing School. And one of my assignments was kind of doing like an undercover dating kind of thing. So like I had to meet somebody at a bar, I had to meet people online and like different scenarios and kind of write my experiences with those. And so I didn't actually plan on meeting anybody, but I mean, this guy kind of came along. And one of my biggest things actually was not to date somebody in the military. That was always kind of my thing. And well, I mean, clearly that didn't work.
I mean, it's worked out so.
Well, I mean, it's worked out, but me not dating someone in the military didn't really work. So I was writing the paper, had a lot of crappy experiences and realized how many jerks are out there. I actually saw his profile. What site was it? How do you say that? Badoo?
Badoo?
You think Badoo?
Some dating site I was on for less than a day.
So my friend at the time I'm from Portland, Oregon originally, and he's from Washington State. One of my friends at the time, her husband was in the Navy there, so I'd been to the base a couple times to stay while he deployed and kind of help her out here and there. Well, I had seen that I saw your profile pop up and it said Silverdale, Washington. And so I had asked him if he knew this sailor that I knew there.
I had no idea.
I didn't know how small, I didn't know how that works. So I figured maybe he knows him. So it was really, honestly, at first just to ask if he knew Clarence. So then, I don't know, I messaged you and asked you.
And I had no idea who he was. And I kind of told her that's not uncommon just because of how many people were there.
I didn't know much about submarines at all until she was with him, so.
That's basically how we met and started talking.
We talked for how many hours?
So after that, we talked for a couple hours, just messaging back and forth.
About random stuff.
Yeah, the most random stuff. And actually that night, I told her we should get married.
Joking.
Yeah.
But he says he wasn't joking.
Totally joking. And then the next day I was in a school and we actually ended up messaging back and forth for about 13 hours straight.
Again, just random stuff. Like we're both left-handed. Our eyes both changed kind of, I don't know, just a bunch of random stuff we found we had in common.
So that was, I guess, the first 24 hours. was almost all the 24 hours talking. That was how we met. So anyone that didn't know that,
Surprise!
and then I think, I don't remember if it was that weekend or the next weekend. So it's a 3-hour difference, travel-wise.
It was that first weekend, like
Okay,
just
I
a few
couldn't
days
remember.
later, because I was like, man, that was fast.
So it's a 3-hour drive from where I was to where she was. And I decided that weekend I was going to go see her. And we had our first date, which was a little different. One, I didn't know if I was meeting the actual her, kind of like the whole catfish thing. And then, do you remember everything we did?
I know we went to a store. Where?
We went to
What
a
store was it?
Safeway.
It was a Safeway.
Yeah. Do you remember where we went before that?
No.
So
But I remember you making fun of me in my
Yes.
sense of direction.
our first date, essentially,
It was nerves, okay?
was at a cemetery.
You went to the cemetery?
Yes. And you fell in mud.
I don't remember that.
Apparently, it wasn't as interesting to her.
I don't remember it. But I know what cemetery because it's freaking gorgeous.
Yep. So we went to the cemetery, went to the store. We had to come back because of Andrew. Something was going
No,
on
we
with
didn't
Andrew.
come back yet because we went down to the waterfront too. Or we were by water
Oh, yeah, by the
somewhere.
river.
I remember that.
So it was unique. Definitely different.
How did I not remember?
I don't know.
Man, I have bad pre-games, I'm telling you. That's what it is.
So that was pretty much our first date. And I kissed you on the forehead when I left
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't want to be that guy. And I was still pretty nervous about it.
It was sweet
Yeah.
though.
That was that. And then we started officially dating a month later,
Mm-hmm.
April 8th.
Yep, because it fell on Easter that year. April 8th was Easter. That Easter Sunday.
This was all in 2012 so far. Yeah. Then we started seriously dating. We found out you were pregnant.
This was like after I moved in with you though. Because we moved in together.
That's true.
In,
We moved in together in June.
so a couple months after we
Yeah.
officially started dating.
Yeah. So I moved her up to Bremerton, her and Andrew, which was different for me because I'd never lived with anyone with a child. So it was kind of seeing how that all played out. Like I had to learn a lot of new stuff.
We all had to adjust.
Yeah.
It was,
And Andrew had just turned 4.
no.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he did just because you started dating me when he was 3.
Yeah.
And then you turned 4 May 1st.
Yeah. I know the kid's birthday.
I would hope so.
So yeah, and then after that, probably the end of July. Do you remember what day? Probably not. When I proposed. So that's a no. Do you remember where?
Yes, the baseball game.
All right. So July 31st,
That one.
we were at a Mariners game, and I proposed to her. I contemplated doing it on the whole big screen thing, but I didn't want to embarrass her too much. And I didn't want her to say no in front of everybody.
There were already people around us like, yay!
So I did not do that. So yeah, that was the proposal. Then we waited less than 2 weeks and got married. lot of people would kind of chalk that up to, oh, you're in the military, stuff about benefits and all pay, and I'll tell you right now, it's not the greatest pay.
No.
I mean,
We get by.
we're fine, but yeah. So we got married August 9th, 2012 in a park right outside our apartment. Yep.
Not a lot of people knew that. I think the only person really was your dad and a couple close friends.
Yep. So that was, well, people know now.
Well, now they know, but then
it was a secret for a while
Yeah.
for reasons. So going on past that, we were still living in an apartment. Then we got our dog, Wilbur, as a little baby puppy, probably like that big.
No, what he was like
Probably like that big.
to you, maybe.
He was the smallest one out of the litter. He was the runt. And it was Andrew's Christmas present, but it was a little bit before Christmas. And now,
We said it was Andrew's. It was mainly mine, though.
yeah. So 7.5-ish years later, he's 120 pounds, and he's still my lap dog.
And that's pure muscle. That's not like fat. Like he's a big boy.
Yeah, he is. After that, we ended up moving on to base in Silverdale. Part of that was we knew Lainey was coming, so we needed more room because we only had a 2-bedroom apartment. And then kind of a side thing was my commute was better. I didn't have to drive nearly as long. Not that it was far to begin with, but it was a lot less traffic. Thank you, Wilbur.
Was that Wilbur?
Yes.
Oh.
He's right there.
So instead, we had a 3-bedroom,
Yeah.
2.5-bath townhouse versus a 2-bedroom apartment.
So we moved into there in February of 2013. A month later, little Lainey was born on March 12th. So it was our first kid together.
He is actually lucky he got to be there. He was supposed to be
Yeah.
deployed during her birth, but
Almost
thank
missed
God
it.
the Jackson always broke. And he got to stay and see Lainey be born. But he missed a lot of her.
2 or 3 weeks later is when I left for the deployment.
Like, not even a whole 2 weeks later.
Yeah. So I missed the first 2 months, essentially. Which kind of sucked, but it happens. There's people that miss the birth altogether, and it really sucks.
So because of that, my postpartum depression was kind of a thing. So I stopped breastfeeding, which I had to do with Andrew as well. So like I felt really defeated because I wanted to do that. But with him and going through our first actual like real deployment, like long one, before we had only been through like a couple weeks. So
Yeah. So it's pretty much the only significant things in 2013. 2014, there wasn't a lot either. There was 2 or 3 more deployments, but we kind of got a routine going. Granted, when I came back, the first 2, Lainey didn't know who I was,
no.
which for any dads that have made deployments, that's a heartbreaker. It sucks. Like, it makes you feel bad.
It's bad when you don't think about that and he comes home and asks me, because I had transitioned her into her own bedroom when he was gone, and he had to ask me if she slept with the lights on, the door open, like what kind of her routine was, because he had no idea. And those are things you don't really think about until you're in the situation.
Yeah. And then at the end of 2014, the week before Thanksgiving. I transferred to shore duty. For those that don't know, shore duty, you don't go on patrols for X amount of years, depending on what your contract says. So I was able to be around for a lot of stuff, which was nice.
So we had talked about our final baby being on shore duty. That way
We didn't know it was going to be final
well,
at that time.
that's true. But a baby on shore duty just so he could be a part of everything.
Yeah.
Instead of, bits and pieces here and there, because he missed a lot of ladies first.
Yeah. So we found out not too long before New Year's that Brittany was pregnant again. We didn't tell anybody. And then we waited till New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, to post something about it.
And shortly after that, I started to miscarry, which was pretty, especially after you just tell everybody and, everyone's congratulating you, and then in the midst of that, you're losing your baby. So that was rough.
However,
A few weeks later.
it was, a few weeks later, we found out she was pregnant again. So my swimmers work, which is good, I guess. That was, not too long afterwards.
Like within that first
Yep.
3 or so weeks.
Yep. So still in January,
Towards the
beginning of
end.
February.
Yeah.
2015. Then kind of a side thing, in July, I ended up getting appendicitis while she was super pregnant. So that just didn't help her nerves at all.
It was worse for me than it was for him, and he was the one that was sick, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
The doctor told me that his appendix was coming out when he wasn't even in the room, and I just sobbed like it was the worst thing in the entire world. But I was like 7 months pregnant, or close to. So, yeah. Your command was awesome though. Like they called me and walked me through that, and they were very supportive. So we were lucky to have that, and family and friends.
Yeah. So I was in the hospital overnight, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Just one night.
Just one night.
And then
They had to make sure your blood pressure was stable.
then I got to come home, be with the family. Then a couple months later, little Jordan, who, if anyone doesn't know, his name's Carl. He's named after me, my dad, my grandpa, everybody. But we decided to call him Jordan because it's his middle name, one of his middle names, and that way Brittany doesn't get confused when she's trying to yell at me or him, and yell at both of us for whatever reason. So Jordan was born September 30th. And that one was a tough one.
So I was in prodromal labor with him. So that means I was in basically the first to second stage of labor for 10 days in a row. So I was in labor for about 10 days, just not hard labor. And then when we finally went in to have him, it was a struggle. He was my biggest baby. It was very hard to get him out.
He was gigantic. And they thought he still had time to
They thought
grow.
he had a month to go. I knew better. He was about 8 pounds, 4 ounces. So he was a big boy. There he is right there. He's still a boulder. But what we didn't know, because that hospital, for whatever reason, did not give me more than one doctor's appointment in my entire pregnancy. So that was a fight all in and of itself. But because of that, we had found that, which I didn't know at first, I knew something was wrong, but the cord had been wrapped around his neck. So when he was born, he was lifeless. Like there was nothing to him.
He wasn't breathing.
And so they had to kind of get him back for us. And They laid him on me to nurse, and I tried to get him to nurse. And again, shortly after that, they had to take him again because he was kind of not breathing well. So he gave us a scare. He's been our one to give scares.
Yeah, and then we found out, not that, I guess that day, not that long after he was born, that he was supposed to be a twin.
Yeah.
Which would have been terrifying.
So I had miscarried while being pregnant, but I didn't know that I was, which again, had I had normal doctor's appointments, they probably could have figured that out.
Yeah.
Which sucked, but at the same time, it's okay.
So, yep. But because I was on shore duty, I was there for
Everything. I don't think you missed any of his firsts,
No.
which worked out pretty well.
So 2016 rolls around.
Oh, and I breastfed him. That was my only baby. I worked my butt off, but I breastfed him until he was 16 months old, and he weaned himself off. So that's a milestone that he had to push me through that because I struggled.
Yeah.
It was a struggle at first.
Yeah.
I had to throw that in there because I was proud of that.
So I don't normally get sick. Like my whole family can be sick as all heck.
I'll get out.
We'll go with that. And I'll be just fine. If I get sick while they are, it's for like 24 hours.
He has the immune system of a god. I
So,
swear.
yeah. So when I do get sick, I usually end up having surgery. So a lot like with my appendix, in the beginning of 2016, I had to have my gallbladder removed. So I had another surgery. But that one wasn't as bad.
Yeah, you seem to recover pretty quick from that one.
Yeah. That was the main event for 2016.
Yeah.
And then 2017, we decided Jordan was enough for us. And then with Lainey and Andrew also in the house, I had a vasectomy. So no more babies, shooting blanks.
One more surgery.
Yeah. So I had 3 surgeries in a year and a half,
Yeah.
just over a year. So that was fun. Got a lot of time off work for that. Then later on, the middle of the year, so my dad had been in and out of the hospital for diabetic reasons. And we were supposed to go to my parents' house for Father's Day, 2017.
Well, we'd been there the weekend prior, and Jordan started calling him Papa
Right.
that weekend. I'm
Right.
pretty sure.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
So we were in Portland visiting her family, and then we were going to drive up Sunday morning to my parents' house, which was about an hour and a half.
To 2 hours.
2 hours. About 2
Depending,
hours.
yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that did not happen. My dad was admitted to the hospital. I don't remember if it was the day before.
It was that Friday.
So it was 2 days before.
It was.
So he was admitted to the hospital. And I'm sure I'm not going to have all the details right.
I probably remember more than you do.
Probably.
I was more in a.
Yeah. So we were in Portland. I got the phone call. Dad's not doing too good. From my sister. Dad's not doing too good.
She had said he had a stroke.
Yeah.
She thought he had a stroke, is what.
Yeah. So we needed to come up as soon as we could. So,
So my mom kept the kids,
yep.
and him and I raced to the hospital.
We made a 2-hour drive in about an hour.
Yeah.
I broke a lot of laws.
Yeah.
But
He somehow didn't get caught.
yeah.
In the meantime, his sister was messaging me, and I didn't read all of them to him because I kind of had a feeling. But towards the end of that drive, like the last 10, 15 minutes, she was like, okay, Britt, ETA, come on, where are you? I was like, just about like 10 minutes away. She goes, hurry up, you need to get here. I was like, is he okay? And she was like, just get here. And that's all she said.
Yeah. So by the time we got there, my dad had already passed away due to a combination of diabetes, pneumonia, and I think something else, but I can't honestly remember.
Pneumonia was a big one, and then he had a seizure when he actually died.
Yep. So that was rough. That was a really rough time for me. My dad was the person I would go to for everything. And then especially with it being the day before Father's Day, it was just really rough.
And in the midst, finding out kind of that we were possibly going to Georgia.
Yep.
Like,
yeah.
soon.
So I can only be stationed in Washington State or Georgia. A lot of people that watch this will know that.
Well, now you have a little bit more
Not really.
leeway, but mainly Washington and Georgia because of his rate.
So not that long after my dad passed, we actually found out we were moving to Georgia at the end of the year. So we ended up leaving Washington December 17th. And then we moved to Georgia, so which is where we currently live. So it was the end of 16. I got to the USS Alaska.
No, 17.
No, it was 17, you're right.
The end of 17.
So the end of 17, and then I got actually to my new boat January of 18. And then this command, the USS Alaska, compared to my last one being the USS Henry M. Jackson, is a significant improvement.
Much better.
Kind of went from the worst boat to the best boat in the fleet.
Yeah. Pretty
Yep.
good crew and everything. Lucked out with them so far.
Yep. I think I was here for about a month. Then I went on my first deployment here, which was a learning experience for them because it was a completely different state.
Not only that, it was Lainey and Jordan's first deployment. Lainey, I say first deployment because she was too little to remember deployments. So that one hit her actually really hard. That was rough. Andrew already knew how it goes. He knew what to expect. But Lainey, that hit her hard. I actually have a picture of her crying on me because she didn't understand. And before he left, he sat them down and, this is what Daddy does. This is, we showed her the submarine and missile launches and cool stuff. And so the kids will tell you their dad's a superhero. Like, that's their way of Daddy's a hero protecting us. And that helps, helps them cope while he's gone. And they know he has an important job to keep everyone safe. So he's their hero. And that's what kind of helps them get through.
And then with my first deployment, I was actually fortunate enough to do a test launch of 4 missiles. I wish I could find the video. I can find it on Facebook, so I can post it on like our Facebook page, but I can't really link it to this video.
Which actually, I was gonna mention too, so he'd already deployed and they turned around and came back a few weeks later.
Yeah. It was unexpected.
And yeah, because they were gonna do their missile launch and he left on Father's Day, his dad's 1-year death anniversary, and went back out to sea that day. Of all days, it was that day.
Yeah.
So I kind of talked to his guys and I was like, just watch him, make sure, But I think with the missile launch, it kind of helped you keep your mind a little bit busy.
Yep. So we did that and then came back. And then I think that was my only deployment that year.
Yeah, I think so. Because then you did 2 this last year.
I deployed again in January of last year, 2019, which was normal deployment, so there's nothing super awesome about that. And then again, I was fortunate enough in the end of June to fly out to Scotland, which the boats haven't done in a long time. So my crew went out to Scotland, the other crew was underway, and then they came into Scotland with the boat, and then we kind of flip-flopped. And I think my crew got a couple days, 4 or 5 days to kind of explore, which was awesome. And I really want to go back and I guess take her. So
It was awesome for him. It was
yeah, it was not so awesome back here.
not awesome here, and I'm not going to go into detail in all of that. One, it would take forever, and two, I just don't want to talk about. But I went through the worst, and I've had some crappy deployments, but I think that one was by far the worst.
Yeah.
And I battled housing here, and I got us moved and got us some money from it, and I accomplished things I didn't think I could accomplish. You don't know really how strong you are until you have to be strong. But without going into too much detail, I did that, and he had no idea what was going on for a while.
Yeah.
You can't really say a whole lot through emails. They just won't go through. But
Yeah. I didn't know that they had moved until after I got back. So
and we just moved up the street, so
yeah, literally a couple houses down.
yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
And then a couple weeks after we got back from that patrol, we ended up getting sent out again for 2 weeks as a precautionary thing
Because of the Hurricane
because of
Dorian.
Hurricane Dorian, which ended up missing us entirely.
It skirted up the coast, so we got a little bit of it to where it was fun, where the kids could we all kind of had a hurricane party and played outside. I mean, we still got some decent winds and stuff, and the kids had fun with that. That was kind of cool to experience. I don't really want to experience much more than that, though. I'm sure we will.
And that pretty much brings us to now with significant events. Now I'm looking at orders again for shore duty, which we're trying to stay here because we love it here. And I would prefer not to move across the country again.
That wasn't fun.
I mean, it kind of was.
It would have been more fun had we had more time to kind of explore and see things on the way, but we weren't able to. We love it here though, so see what happens. And now we have coronavirus. Guess that's the significant thing right now.
So that's pretty much an in-depth, not in-depth look at kind of where we started, where we're at, things that kind of challenged us throughout.
He hit his 11-year mark in the Navy in
Last
February,
month.
so I mean, that's significant.
That's true.
That's a big one.
So I guess that's it. If there's anything else you guys want to know, let us know either in the comments or on the Facebook page. I don't know what else. We're going to be more on top of videos now that everyone's back and kind of settled back in. And really, we have nothing better to
Especially, yeah,
do.
now that everything's shut down, maybe we can do a fun video next with the kids. And
There is a plan to make a video with the kids tomorrow. I know it's been a lot of us on here.
yeah, we need to get them.
So, yeah. So, yeah. I guess we'll see you in the next video.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.